Welcome back to the show where we run you through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. On today's show, obviously, we run you through the news you need to know about. Then we play you the clip of the week. Then we get into the fan Q&A, and then that is the show. Obviously, we're going to still go through the box score, but that falls under the all the news you need to know about category. So we're definitely going to go through the game. In case you were wondering. But we got to start with the Dolphins news you need to know about. There's only really one news story, and I don't know if we covered this on the last episode, but if we didn't, stick with me. This comes from Pro Football. Remember, the Dolphins, Rashad Jones wants to stay. The Dolphins and Rashad Jones have had a rocky relationship in the past, but they seem to be on good terms now. The safety says he wants to stay put, even as other teammates are looking to get out of town. Rashad said, quote, "I love my home." And if you can remember, Jones pulled himself after a game because he didn't play enough against the Jets. And yeah, blah, 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 but it's good. I mean, Rashad saying that, that's not all he said. I think the most important quote was he said he could have left. He had opportunities to leave and he didn't, which is just, a good thing. And then, it's good to have him. It's good to have him, that's for sure. He's a good player that showed up on Sunday despite the loss. He was the only one really who did his job, for God's sake. So at least we still have Rashad. He had one of the only third down stops of the day when they were throwing to their tight end Lance Kendricks. He broke it up, and that was probably the cleanest, best defensive play we probably made all day long, because it was rough. It was really, really rough. And again, that's the only real news story you guys need to know about. Other than that, nothing has really happened since last week. But we do have a game to talk about. The Dolphins followed the Los Angeles Chargers 30-10 at home. And I think the last time that happened, where we lost to the Chargers at home, was the Epic in Miami. The Kellen Winslow game, the Dan Fouts game, and then they went on to lose to the Bengals right after that. That was a hook and lateral game too, so I'm pretty sure that was the last time we lost to the Chargers at home. That means Dan Marino never lost to the Chargers at home, which is interesting. Let's see here. Okay, so we'll start with the defense. Well, no, we'll start because that's the worst. We'll start with the offense. It was a good half. It was a really good half. Obviously, we actually took the lead for the first time in a game. Devontae, and we'll talk about Josh Rosen first. He had a really good first half, like a really, really good first half. He wasn't getting any pressure. He was making quick decisions, very accurate, beautiful deep ball. Had some drops in the first half by some receivers. And he really benefited from the running game, but he looked really good. I mean, he looked really, really good in that first half. Made really quick reads. He looked like a player who's been in the league a longer period of time. You can just tell if you watch Josh Rosen from, let's just say, from the Cardinals to now. Like, he's gotten so much better. He's a way better quarterback. He just makes decisions faster. He gets the ball out. He's accurate. And some of those things that he did in Arizona kind of showed up in the second half. But even in the first half, I felt like, he was doing a good job of getting rid of the ball when there was nothing there and he was getting pressure. But there was a couple of times where, and I think when this particular play happened, it was an all-out pressure by the Chargers. And we actually had our tight end wide open over the middle. Josh ends up, because the cornerback, I don't know if it was the corner or the safety, was coming in free to hit him. It was like on 3rd and 4, and he just kind of threw it away. He didn't want to get sacked out of field goal range. It's a smart play, but if you stand in there and then make the throw to the tight end, which he had enough time to do, then that's a first down. So I felt like the way he dealt with pressure and blitzes in the game was okay. It wasn't really that good. That was the one criticism I have of him throughout the entire game. And even after the play was over, you could tell, like, he kind of, he was like, that's on me. He kind of understood, like, okay, I had someone wide open. If I just would have seen him a little bit sooner. It's one of those things where if you make that pre-snap read where he's going to be open when you hike the ball, like he's going to be uncovered just because there's that hole in that particular defense, then you get the ball out. It has nothing to do with him not wanting to take a hit. He just didn't recognize it pre-snap. If he recognizes it pre-snap and he knows where to go with the ball pre-snap, then Josh is going to stand in there and make that throw. It's just stuff like that and that's just being a young quarterback. If that was Phillip Rivers, he would have checked to something, either to a protection or something that beats the blitz, or he just would have recognized, okay, we have the great play call here, and made the play on made the throw on third down. And that just comes with experience. I don't think that comes with, I don't think that's something that he lacks. Let's just put it that way. And when you look at some of the young quarterbacks throughout the league, some are better at it than others, but most of them nowadays are very athletic. So they get away with a lot of things because of their ability to get out of the pocket and run for first downs. Josh Rosen is a pocket passer, so things are going to look a little bit different, and it's harder to be a pocket passer than to be able to run a 4.5 40 and get out of trouble all the time. Like, he has to make those decisions. He has to beat a defense with his mind a lot of the time. Obviously, he's a pocket passer, so all of those things I think are going to get better as time goes on. But I do think he could have dealt with the blitz a little bit better, and it wasn't like a 3 or 4 man rush. There was like 3 plays that come to mind that really could have been either like he shouldn't have taken a sack there, or he could have made a throw there, and that happened. I can't even. I just stopped speaking English. That happened like 3 times. Like 3 bad plays where the one where he took the sack, and I can't remember. I think it was right before halftime. Didn't have to take it there, and I'm pretty sure they pressured us on that one. And we actually picked it up, but held the ball way too long. I don't really understand what he was doing right there. So yeah, he didn't do all that well against pressure, for some reason. Not for some reason. I really do feel like those. It's either he's trying to do too much on a play, or it just comes with experience. I don't think it has anything to do with him being a lesser player, that's for sure. But he has to make those plays. He made a lot of bonehead decisions in terms of not giving up on a play, and that's something he needs to learn. When we were backed up on our goal line, and it really should have been a safety, but for some reason he doesn't get the ball out. Jay Feely pointed out in a couple of those scramble drills, he actually had Preston Williams open. I really don't know. I mean, I haven't seen, like, you would have to see the coach's film to see what he sees, because I have no idea if that's true or not. I'm just going off of what the commentators were saying at the time. But if that's true, I mean, again, he needs to deal with pressure better. And that was not, I'm pretty sure they didn't blitz on that play. That, again, but he just needs to get rid of the ball. He needs to learn to win. He just needs to learn to give up on a play. Not everything is fourth in the game. You don't really have to pressure yourself and put that on yourself. Like, I have to make a play right here. All the time. And, that's something he needs to get better at. And obviously the interception that he had, I think he really was trying to lollipop it over the corner. Everybody's like, oh, why would he make that read? I think he was trying to fit it in there. And it just was a bad throw. He just didn't get enough on it. Didn't get what he wanted on it. And it just was an interception. It would have been a tough throw to make. But he could have made it if he had a better... Whatever happened, I think that was more of an accident than anything. But yeah, overall, I mean, he played very well, especially in the first half. He was in great rhythm, had the offense in great rhythm. He was making great decisions, making quick decisions. Obviously, he has one of the better... He has, I mean, I'm trying to think of all the... I mean, he has definitely one of the best arms that we've seen here in a long time. He has a great touch on the ball. He's got great arm strength. And he showcased that on Sunday. He's got very good accuracy too, and again, he does read the field very well. It's just the experience factor. Plus, he just does not give. I don't understand why he just doesn't give up on a play. And he's understand. Listen, he's putting way too much pressure on himself to make plays like that. He doesn't need to make those plays. So yeah, overall, I felt like the first half was much better than the second half. But I will also say it had a lot to do with the offense not being on the field. The Chargers had a 10-minute drive in the second quarter or the third quarter, and basically we went 3 and out, and because they deflected a screen, which actually Josh pump faked a screen and actually should have went back to it instead of tucking it and running. But I mean, I'm not really gonna get mad at him. I mean, it's hard to do that. It's hard to know, oh, that guy moved after I turned my head. I mean, they blew up the screen. It is what it is. So we go 3 and out at half, and then we don't even get the ball basically until the fourth quarter. So that was a huge... I feel like if the defense gave him more opportunities, then we wouldn't be talking about how drastic of a difference there was from first to second half. Just the offense was not in a rhythm. Next time they see the ball, they're already down. The pass rush kind of heats up a little bit because you have to come back from behind because you only have 1 quarter to play, and you need points. So that was a huge factor in the game, which I don't think can be discounted to really count towards his performance. I feel like obviously if that didn't happen, I think he would have performed better because the situation we were in, he had to do something. I mean, we were bleeding, we were hemorrhaging points at that point. There was not a lot of time left in the game, and we had to do something or we were going to lose. So yeah, that was just a huge blow to the team, that drive. Sorry about the dogs in the background. There's nothing I can do about that. It's very annoying, I know, and I apologize. But anyway, yeah, that drive killed. I haven't seen a drive like that that has took that much time off the clock since, I want to say, since it was actually a benefit for us. I think it was like 2011. It was the last game of the year. Matt Moore was obviously starting in place of Chad Henning. He had won like 6 straight that year. It was the last game of the season against the Jets. And I think we went on like a 10 to 13 minute drive to really end that game. That's the last time I've ever seen anything like that. We just could not get off the field on third down. But sticking with the offense, so other than Josh Rosen, who I probably had the second or best performance of the day, Kenyon Drake had a very good day. He had 9 carries for 44 yards. He averaged almost 5 yards a carry, which is a huge improvement from where it really was with our running game. And he had a really good game in the air too. Caught a couple screens, was able to get loose in the open field. The execution on those screens was really nice. I liked the play calling there. I felt like we had a really good game plan to get the ball out quick and into some of our playmakers' hands to get them in the open field. I really wish Albert Wilson would have played this game. It's a bummer that he didn't, but obviously we're getting him after the bye, so that's going to be a huge upgrade to this offense. And I'm very excited for him to get back because it's just going to add more consistency to the mix. Someone who's actually going to be able to catch a football and who's dependable, other than Preston Williams, he's all over the place. He's all over the place. Devontae Parker, despite his poor play as of late, had a very good game. He led the team in receiving. He had 4 catches for 70 yards. He averaged 17 yards a catch with 1 touchdown. Preston Williams finished second receiving on the team, 4 catches for 46 yards, 11 yards a catch. A couple drops actually. I think 1 drop. Kenyon Drake finished with 3 receptions for 29 yards. So there you go. There's your offensive stats. Kenyon Drake led the team in rushing. He had 9 carries, 44 yards. Mark Walton actually had 6 carries, 23 yards. And in a big twist, Kalen Ballage only 2 carries. So we all wanted to change with Kenyon Drake and Kalen Ballage, and we got it on Sunday. He barely played. On receiving downs, Mark Walton was in there. If Kenyon wasn't in there, Mark Walton was in there. So really crazy how Mark Walton pretty much got outplayed throughout the preseason by other running backs, and for some reason is getting a lot of reps here. But he did a good job nonetheless, and Kalen really, he's really played himself out of playing time. Overall, it was an improvement, but there lacked consistency. The defense really didn't help the offense out a lot because of just the time of possession was so lopsided. They couldn't get off the field. They didn't give the defense any second chances. They didn't give them good field position. It was very, very poor day for the defense, which leads us into the defense. The most frustrating unit by far of the day was the defense. It wasn't even close. Now, if you look at the numbers and what they allowed, Phillip Rivers had a pretty dang good day. He was 24 for 30 for 310 passing yards with 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. In terms of their running game, you would think Austin Eckler had 100 yards just by the way the game went, but no, he had 18 carries for 60 yards. He only averaged 3 yards a carry. And their backup running back had 10 carries for 20 yards. Receiving-wise, their leading receiver was Dontrell Inman with 5 receptions for 76 yards. Their second leading receiver was their running back, Austin Eckler, 5 receptions, 62 yards. Their third leading receiver on the team, who finished third, is Keenan Allen with 5 catches for 48 yards, which was a huge surprise. The defense played that well against, they didn't play well at all, but just the numbers, like you would think the numbers would be a little bit, at least there would be a 100-yard receiver or a 100-yard rusher, but Phillip Rivers did have a really good day. He had 300 yards passing the football. Now, the thing this defense is just frustrating to watch. I really don't know. It's really bad. Eric Rowe continues to be terrible. Not only can he not cover, he had a personal foul on a fullback, for God's sakes, in the game. Dontrell Inman, was just roasting him, like, at a very, very disturbing level. We need to do something about Eric Rowe. We talk about Kalen Ballage and Kenyon Drake all the time. I don't know why the heck we have... no one in the building has thought maybe we should play someone else there because it's bad. Now, granted, we've dealt with some injuries. Jamal Wiltz is hurt, but he's a nickel corner. I don't really know what you want to do there at outside corner. Jonathan Batamosi's still got a lot of playing time because obviously Jamal Wiltz was out, and he actually didn't play as bad as Eric Rowe did, which is crazy. He didn't play great, but Eric Rowe played god-awful. Dontrell Inman should not have 70 yards on 6 receptions and caught a lot of big third downs. But overall, as a defense, I felt like the lack of intelligence was at a high level, just really dumb plays. The 2 plays, or the one play that really frustrated me the most, it was very reminiscent of the Dak Prescott and Jason Witten play last week, where Dak would have had to run roughly 35 yards because he was so far behind the line of scrimmage to pick up a first down. But instead of, letting him pass the line of scrimmage and, covering their guy, our defender comes down to get Dak Prescott, and Jason Witten is left uncovered for an easy 20-yard gain, and that was on 3rd and 20. This game, it was a little bit different, where we had I don't know what down it was, but it was very close to the red zone, or the Chargers were in the red zone, but it was very close to the goal line, where Phillip Rivers breaks the pocket, not going to pick up a first down, not even going to get close. He's actually going to get tackled from behind pretty easily because he's Phillip Rivers. But no, our second, I don't know who it was, I can't remember who it was, but someone decided that Michael Vick was running at them, and instead of staying on the running back and forcing a field goal, comes down on the great running ability of Phillip Rivers, and Phillip dumps it right over his head for a touchdown. And it's like, what are we doing as a defense? It's mental mistakes like that that just blow my mind. Like I said last week, teams legitimately, when they're on 1st and 20, 3rd and 20, 2nd and 20, try to pick up the first down. That's how bad this defense is. Usually, it's super conservative. They don't want the pass rush to get there. They don't want the defense making a big play. Well, not against us. Everybody tries to pick it up. And guess what, guys? They pick it up every single time. Keenan Allen was wide open on a deep over route. I don't know if he stopped his route in the middle of the zone, but nobody covered him. And obviously that set up a shorter yard situation than 2nd and 20. We can't even take advantage of the penalties that the opposing offense commits. Our tackling is just abysmal. Again, the mental errors. People are running wide open on a consistent basis. No one can cover anybody. The lack of discipline on this team. We can't get off the field on 3rd down. There's not a consistent pass rush. The defense is just absolutely sorry, ladies and gentlemen. They don't do anything well consistently at all. Their 3rd down defense might be one of the worst 3rd down defenses I've seen in since I've really been alive watching the Dolphins. Statistically, we have seen 2 defenses that were worse than the defenses that Dan Marino had early on in his career. Okay? Think about that for a second. They're statistically worse than those defenses. We've seen 2 of them with Matt Burke. Okay? Well, actually, one with Vance Joseph. People forget that. When we made the playoffs, that was the worst defense in franchise history, but we still somehow made the playoffs. Then Matt Burke broke that. I think it was, 2017 he broke it? So, this defense looks worse than that, even though they're not giving up, 150,000 yards to a running back on the ground, and a 100-yard receiver through the air. They're just bad. There's no other way to say it. They're bad. They don't do anything well. They can't cover. They can't, they got cement in their shoes and bricks for hands, ladies and gentlemen. It's just bad. Like, they're so sorry, dude. It's just, I don't know what else to say. Raekwon McMillan looked good. I'll say that. He looked, he made a lot of nice tackles. It seemed like it was like, God, that's what a tackle looks like. Like, it just, I will say this. Raekwon played well. I thought Jerome Baker could have played a little bit better. In terms of how the defense was handled and the play calling for the defense, I thought for some reason, we refused to send pressure on third down. That has to change over the bye week. Our defense is not good enough to get pressure with our 3-man rush, 4-man rush, definitely not a 3-man rush, and not even a 4-man rush, not even a 5-man rush. They have to at least send 6 on third down to even have a chance to get off the field right now. That's how bad it is. They have to send more pressure on key situations. Before the year even started, Brian Flores says there's a lot of ways to get pressure on the quarterback, not necessarily just having a dominant pass rusher. You can do it schematically. We haven't seen that through the first 3 weeks on a consistent enough basis on key downs in games. Even in this game, now we didn't get a lot of third down and longs in the red zone, but we just didn't send enough pressure at all. I mean, Taco Charlton, I think, had the only sack of the game, which was a great play by him. But other than that, I mean, it's just, what do they want? I mean, what do they expect to happen? We can't cover on the back end. So we have to manufacture some kind of pressure to get off the field on third downs. We actually are getting in a lot of favorable third down situations. We just can't cover for long. We can't cover anything. I mean, there were so many crossing routes open, your head will explode. There were people running wide open. People that you've never... again, this was an injured Chargers team, okay? So it wasn't like they were going out there against small, the deepest receiver core in the world. Their tight end, two of their starting tight ends didn't play. Okay? So that's not good that our defense performed that way. I just don't understand... I don't understand the lack of gamble on the Dolphins' defense. Maybe they just don't have faith enough that I don't know. Like, we just can't cover for long enough that we can't send a 6-man pressure, or I don't know what it is, but it has to change. And hopefully, when we get Jamal Wiltz back, hopefully Bobby McCain's healthy after the bye. Taco Charlton gets better somehow over the week, and I don't know, but something needs to change. Obviously, Raekwon McMillan needs more playing time. He played very well in the running game. He was just dominant in the tackle box. But there were no positives other than Raekwon McMillan. Obviously X did a really nice job on Keenan, but we expect that from him. Just the defense is just bad. It's bad. There was a stat that we play cover 1 the third most in the league. I think the 2 other teams that play it more are the Lions and the Patriots, which makes sense. Obviously, it's the same scheme. I'm a huge, and when I say this, I mean huge man-to-man coverage fan. I think that's the best coverage you can play in the NFL, especially if you have the personnel to do it. You should do it. And it really exposes bad quarterbacks. And even the great quarterbacks. I mean, if you have tight man-to-man coverage and you can get pressure, you're going to win the game 9 times out of 10. That's how you should build your football team. And I love the idea behind it. It's just we don't have the personnel to execute something like that right now. You can't do that. We have to be more aggressive on defense because it's just not working. They have to try something different because it's just not working. And I don't think anything is going to work. If they change it, if they're more aggressive, I have zero faith that it's going to get any better. But it's definitely, I think it gives us a better chance. I'll say that. But the personnel is just so poor. It's just, I don't care what you do on defense. They can't run cover 3, cover 4, cover 15,000. They can't run cover nothing, dude. Cover nothing when there's nobody on the team. Someone's gonna trip and fall, and something's gonna happen. They just can't execute anything right now, and it just sucks. It's hard to watch. It's very hard to watch a defense play that bad. The offense comes out and gets it 7-3 early on in the game. The defense did a good job of holding them and not breaking. They give up a touchdown drive, and ever since then, they just really didn't do a good enough job on the Chargers offense after that touchdown drive. Too many third downs. There was way too many third downs that the Chargers converted that were 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 5. Way too many 3rd and 6s and 3rd and 7s to not get off the field on a consistent basis. And when you can't get off the field, that leads to the Chargers literally bleeding out the entire third quarter, and then shortens the game and allows their pass rush to get after our quarterback because we have to push the ball down the field and we don't have the offensive line to do that. So it all kind of compiled into one big mess, and that led to 30-10. And it is what it is, man. I don't miss, the one thing I will say about this defense, the idea behind a lot of things are, there's good there. Like, the idea behind the stuff that we're doing, yeah, that's what you want to see from, at least that's what I want to see from a defensive coordinator. I would be a lot more aggressive than Patrick Graham, and I don't know where that comes from because Brian Flores was very aggressive when he was coaching the Patriots defense. He called the blitz that won them the game. The cover was 0 blitz. They ran that blitz 1,000 times against teams last season. So I just don't know where that is. I don't know where that aggressiveness is right now. That's the only thing that I would change. But, it's not Matt Burke's defense where people are, there's, zero effort. People are wide open constantly in zone coverage. This, it's just the personnel is so poor. I think the coaching staff needs to make personnel changes. I don't think Eric Rowe should start anymore. He's played terribly. If Cordrea Tankersley has to play, then so be it. Or someone else. We can get someone off the street if we have to. But at this point, Eric Rowe just can't play anymore. He out of everybody, and he's played the worst so far this season. He's played terrible. He's going against the team's second best receiver week to week. The Dallas Cowboys was the hardest. I guess the Patriots went because they had AB at the time, but Dontrell Inman, Eric Rowe, Dontrell Inman. I don't know what else to say. I don't know what's going on with him. I really don't. He just needs to play better, and I don't think he's capable of it at this point because it's just god awful. So yeah. That's my review of the game. The defense is so dang sorry. It's hard. The offense really just couldn't get into a rhythm in the second half due to the lack of getting the ball back on a consistent enough basis. The field position was terrible. Special teams was god-awful. Obviously, the 2 missed kicks. They were longer kicks, but still should have made them. It was one heck of a day. Let's just put it that way. All right, let's play the clip of the week. This is from Josh Rosen and what he had to say about his performance on Sunday against the Los Angeles Chargers. It's loading. Apologize.
No, not really. Probably go back and look at the tape. I definitely made a couple pretty significant errors in the second half. I missed a couple. They started to heat up the pressure a little bit, and I started to miss a couple, not a couple, just 1 or 2 sort of sites in some kind of critical areas in situational football. I just got to not almost get a safety on my 1-yard line and kind of understand the bigger scope of the game, the field position, and just make smart plays. Quick little screen out to my left. I should have just thrown in the dirt as opposed to trying to run like an idiot playing high school football. Yeah, so it's just a lot of stuff, a lot of little things here or there. But I think we'll improve and be better next week.
So that was the play that we brought up, the screen that was blown up on the first drive coming out of halftime. He could have went back to it. Now, initially, it was not open, but if he pump fakes and then throws it back, Devontae Parker should have a pretty big play right there. But it's just we're just being us. You know what I mean? Just can't take advantage of anything. So yeah, that was your clip of the week. So let's get into the fan Q&A, ladies and gentlemen, where the fans ask their questions. People are over here already doing mock drafts. You know, burning down buildings. I mean, at this point, it's pretty just desolate in Dolphins kingdom. I mean, there's a lot of eviction notices, a lot of payments missed. It's just a ghost town. It really is. Now we're all hanging in here strong. I'm not saying that, but there's just not a lot. I mean, the water's dry. You know what I mean? All right, let's get into the fan Q&A. This first question comes from Douglas Ward. He asks, "Hey Skaggs, I'm looking forward to watching the Steelers play tomorrow night, and hopefully lose. Hopefully the Steelers lose, so our draft capital gets even better. If we could get 2 picks in the top 5 and trade the first pick away for say 12, pick 12 and get a king's ransom for it and build around Rosen, we could be competitive in 2 short years. What do you think?" I don't see why do people 2 short years, bro. I've said this a million times. Has no one seen some of the jobs that some of these teams have done over the last few years? I mean, the Jaguars completely changed their defense in a season, and then they went to the AFC Championship game. They signed Tom Coughlin, they signed AJ Boye, they signed Calais Campbell, and then the rest is history. They drafted Miles Jack. I mean, they signed Malik Jackson that same offseason. Like, you can change your team in an offseason. You do not have to wait 2 years. This isn't the 1980s and the 90s, okay? You not only do you have free agency, but you have the draft, and especially with the amount of draft picks the Dolphins have. If it takes 2 more years for them to do anything, then that's a problem. That's not a good thing. I don't think, I just hate when I hear, oh, it's going to take 3 years. It's not going to take 3. If you take, what sport do you watch, dude? When was the last time a team, other than the Browns, I guess, sucked for so long and changed it? It's like, oh, we sucked for 3 years and now we're good again. I can't remember, I'm talking, it's been a gradual build. I can't think of not a team that hasn't fixed their entire issues in one offseason. I'm talking the majority of the reason they're good again is because of that. I can't think of any in recent memory. I get the Colts didn't spend a ton in free agency. They really did it through the draft, but they had a lot of injuries though. Andrew Luck was hurt, and that was a huge problem for why they were so inconsistently bad. But yeah, I just don't like it's going to take this. It should not take that amount of time to be competitive again, in my opinion. But, so if we get 2 picks in the top 5 and trade the first pick away for pick 12 and get a king's ransom for it and build around Josh Rosen, could we be competitive in 2 short years? What do you think? Again, I don't think the Dolphins should do that. You need those picks. You need those players at that kind of a premium. I don't know, if you keep stocking up picks, then what the heck is the point? It does. You gotta pick someone sometime. So I think the Dolphins should take whoever they can, if potentially 2 top 5 picks, in this draft, whoever those picks may be. So no, I think they should just stay still and pick whoever the heck they need to pick. This next question comes from SM. SM asks, "I've said it before, I'll say, and also, it was a great question, Douglas. I'm not mad at you. I'm just mad at the whole, thought about it should take more than a year or 2 to 3 years for this team to be competitive again. I think is just ridiculous." This next question comes from SM. He says, "I've said it before and I'll say it here. What's wrong with drafting Tua, keeping Rosen, and trading the lesser of the two after a season or 2 for a second-round pick?" What's wrong with that? That's a complicated one. If Josh Rosen is the franchise quarterback, then why would you pick one in the top 5? So if you know that Josh Rosen's the guy for sure, you like this. Josh is our franchise quarterback. Then you wouldn't take a quarterback in the top 5. So now, if you don't know if Josh Rosen is the guy, then you take Tua Tagovailoa. So it's depending on where you think the state of the franchise is. If you think Josh Rosen is the guy, then you shouldn't take Tua. You should invest in Josh Rosen. If you don't, then you should invest in the future and draft Tua Tagovailoa. So that would be the argument against taking Tua. Is, well, you already have a franchise quarterback. This next question comes from Corporate Gamer. He says, not a Dolphins question, but I wanted to know what your thought is on this. Is Jameis Winston the real deal, or is this year just a fluke? He's played terrible this year. You know, I haven't seen the Rams-Buccaneers game yet. I don't really care. He's played terrible. The only reason they beat the Panthers was because they ran the ball constantly, and Cam Newton missed wide-open receivers. He missed Curtis Samuel literally wide open in the back corner of the end zone for the game winner. Wide open. Jameis Winston sucks. He's really bad. He's really, really bad. Again, he didn't throw them to the victory in that game. Again, I haven't seen the Rams game, but I've seen enough of Jameis Winston to know he's bad. So I guess it's a fluke, if you want to call it that. I don't know why the Buccaneers continue to believe in him. I don't get it. This next question comes from Corporate Gamer. He says, should we try to take an offensive tackle in the second round since they usually fall that far and most of them do very solid at that value? Depending on how free agency shakes out, you could do that. I think if you want to improve your offensive line, you should do it through free agency. I think it's just depending on what kind of results you want. If you want quick results, then you do it through free agency. And I think it is the best way to do it. The Cowboys did a great job of just drafting Zach Martin, Travis Frederick, and Tyron Smith, so you can do it. But Zach Martin, you don't really. He's like Quentin Nelson. They're very difficult. You're not going to get one of those every single draft who can just completely change your offensive line. So it's always a big leap if you take an offensive lineman that high. And in recent years, it hasn't worked out for a lot of teams. Because, they are a very frequent, position to be selected in the first round. So I would lean towards free agency for that. This next question comes from Josh Hart. He says, do you trust our coaching staff and Chad O'Shea, and do you think Rosen is our guy? Yes, I do think, I've said this since Rosen got here, I'm a huge fan of Josh Rosen's. I do like what the offense is trying to do. I just don't think the personnel is right. I heard a lot of people complaining that the Dolphins block too many people at times. They need to be a little bit more aggressive. There's a good reason for that. They just can't block. They'll block 7 people and they still can't protect. And there's only 3 people on routes at times, and they still can't protect. So if you do send, if you go empty 5 wide, or you send every eligible person out on a pass route, odds are it ain't gonna end well. It ain't gonna end well for you. So, I do like the coaching staff, and some of the criticism they've taken, I just kind of disagree with. It's hard to game plan for this particular team. It really, really is, and they're doing their best. I think. I don't think they're doing anything wrong. I don't think they could do anything drastically better than what they're doing now. So yeah, I do like the coaching staff and Chad O'Shea. And I do like Josh Rosen. Josh. Tech Me Out, he says, this next question comes from Tech Me Out. He says, I was happy to see Isaiah Prince get an opportunity. It looked like he held up pretty well today. How would you assess his performance? I would have to go back and watch the game. But most of the major sacks and pressure did come from the Chargers sending pressure. It wasn't from really the front four. I would have to go back and watch the game to give you a good assessment of Isaiah Prince. But overall, I feel like, obviously the first half they all did very well, and then even in the running game, the blocking was good. But the second half, it kind of fell apart when the offense kind of It was a little bit more one-dimensional. Again, they did get the ball. I mean, they went 3-and-out. Shouldn't have went 3-and-out in the first, or the second half's first drive. Didn't get the ball back for basically the rest of the third quarter. They get the ball back in the fourth quarter, and the game is, you need to score. I think it was 20-10 at that point, and everything just fell apart from there. But I really can't assess his performance because I need to go back and watch the game a little bit to give you a good answer on that one. This next question comes from D-Mac. He says, what is your take on Ken Webster, and do you think he has what it takes to unseat Eric Rowe? Opposite X. Anybody can. I mean, if you want to sign up, you can too. As long as you get your head around and, get your hands up, maybe you can do it too. Some of the stuff that he's giving up is just very frustrating because, now granted, the pass rush isn't some, ridiculous. It isn't helping things, let's just put it that way, but there were times where, it was an average NFL time to throw a football and he's just giving up plays. So I don't think it has, obviously pass rush helps, but he's just individually not very good. So yeah, anybody at this point I would rather see than Eric Rowe. That is for sure. This next question comes from SM. SM asks, at what point does the coaching staff get behind Rosen or not? I think the last 4 games, if we're keeping him, would be a good point to start saying Josh Rosen is our guy. Thoughts? Depending on how he performs. If he performs well, then, I've always thought it doesn't matter how well he plays. I have a feeling that the Dolphins are still going to take Tua. I hope that's not the case because he has looked really good, and I think he's gotten better week to week. And hopefully he continues to play at this level. With such a poor roster, you can't be that blind as a talent evaluator. He has to not be so stubborn on his decision this quickly. Hopefully Chris Greer's looking at this and make, he played very well with a very bad roster, and I think that's a very, very good sign for Josh Rosen's future. This next question comes from D-Mac. He says, do you think Wilkins is a bust so far? No, I just think, I don't think he's a bust. He hasn't done anything crazy, but, he's on a bad defensive line. A lot of the times it's just 3. Excuse me. It's just, we do a lot of 3-man rush type stuff. We don't send a lot of pressure. He doesn't get a lot of one-on-one blocking, and for a rookie, that's tough. So I don't think he's a bust. I think it just has a lot to do with his surroundings. I think he'll get better as time goes on. This next question comes from Julian. Julian asks, hey, Skaggs, thanks for the podcast. After seeing today's game, I'm shocked at the first half. As we were doing well. Then we broke down in the second half. Why do the Dolphins have problems playing 60 minutes of football? They don't get, as a defense, the defense isn't just stopping someone. It gives your offense better field position. It gives that's probably the biggest thing. If you get turnovers, it makes your offense's life a heck of a lot easier because you do get better starting ports on the field. It's all about field position. And the Dolphins lack that right now. They're not making plays on defense. Just because you force a punt doesn't mean it's always the greatest thing in the world. If you have a good defense, you sack the quarterback. They're backed up on their own goal line. They have to punt. The Dolphins had there's a perfect example of that. The Chargers were backed up, and we couldn't get off the field. If the Dolphins flip field position, if they flip field position and force the Chargers to punt right there, that 10-minute drive never happens. And the game is going to be a completely different game from there on out. Not only did the Dolphins get good field position, but that long 30,000-hour drive never happens. And you get more possessions in the game. So all of that adds up. Not only do you get more possessions, you get more opportunities to score, but you get better field position, and it makes it way easier to score. And the Dolphins' defense is so bad, you just don't get that. So a lot of the times teams just outlast us because of that. That's why they can't put 60 minutes together. Now, against Dallas, obviously the defense definitely fell apart after the second half. But the offense obviously dropped a lot of touchdowns. Could have played better too. So it's a yin and a yang. And it's just the Dolphins' defense is just really bad. They just have to play more consistent football. I would, and again, to answer your question more clearly, Julian, it has a lot to do with the defense. This next question comes from Take Me Out. He asks, I've been following some of the top college quarterbacks, and I'm beginning to think that Ohio State quarterback Justin Fields may be the best of them all. Have you had an opportunity to see him play? Yeah, I would disagree with that. I think Tua is probably the best. Justin Herbert's looked really good. I think those are probably my top two right now. This next question comes from Corporate Gamer. He asks, thoughts on Devontae Parker's performance? It was solid. It was very solid. It could have been a little bit more consistent. He could have showed up on the field a little bit more than he did, but other than that, it was definitely a step up from how he's been playing. This next question comes from Jag Pack 18. He says the Cowboys dumped Taco Charlton for lack of production. At what point do the Dolphins move on from him? At what point did the Dolphins move on from Charles Harris? Also, Gesicki has gone 1.25 seasons without showing much. Is it too soon to label him a bust? Yeah, it's too soon. I mean, the tight ends can't even be used in this offense, for God's sakes, because they're used for extra linemen, basically. It's basically what they are. It's very, very unfortunate, and a lot of the time, Gesicki can't be on the field for that because he's not the greatest blocker in the world. So you're not getting a lot of, him lined up in a flex position or in like a slot receiver position because we can't pass protect. If we could pass protect better, Gesicki would be making more plays on Sunday. This next question comes from DMAC. He asks, do you think Mark Walton should be the backup to Kenyon Drake over Ballage? I mean, he's definitely more versatile in terms of he catches the ball better. He looked better in the running game. So yeah, I mean, he earned that right on Sunday. This next question comes from Traps. He says, what's going on, Skaggs? I felt like this was the best possible pop for a win today, but we're not there yet. Kenyon Drake, Jakeem Grant, Devontae Parker seemed a bit improved. Last week, Xavier Howard was the cornerback giving up the big plays, but he looked very well, played very well Sunday. Eric Rose seemed to be giving up big plays. Do you think that was a coaching mishap or his performance reflects his peak potential? Thanks for everything. Yeah, Eric Rowe just sucks. Has nothing to do with the coaching staff. Eric Rowe is just not very good. This next question comes from Corporate Gamer. He says, should we draft Tua? Depending on how the rest of the season goes. This next question comes from Douglas Ward. He says, hey Skaggs, I'm looking forward to watching the Steelers. We answered this question. This next question comes from Take Me Out. He says, hey Skaggs, I think next year Byron Jones, the cornerback from the Dallas Cowboys, may become available as a free agent. Given all the free agent Dallas must sign as priorities, I think that this should be one of Miami's main targets if possible. Your thoughts? That would be pretty sick. Xavier Howard and Byron Jones side by side. That'd be very, 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 very fun to watch. I mean, if that somehow happened, I would be very happy with it. They're both very good corners. This next question comes from SM. He says, why has everyone decided to pay... Let's restart that. I'm losing my mind. This question comes from SM. SM asks, why has everyone the Dolphins decided to pay except Parker, LOL, sucked after we gave them money? Xavier Howard, Jesse Davis, Jakeem Grant were better last season. I don't think it's X's fault. I think Omar Kelly brought up a great point that makes a lot of sense, and it's true. If you watch the games, a lot of the time, especially against Dallas, the pass rush is so poor that receivers, especially some of these number one receivers, just get way too much time to get open. He brought up a great point that X looks back a lot of the times because he thinks the ball's coming, because naturally the ball comes out at a certain time in the National Football League, and it's just, again, the pass rush is so poor that it's throwing some of the timing off with how he plays the game. And I felt like he has to maybe adjust to that a little bit more and understand that, he's got to cover for a longer period of time. I think that's why a lot of people thought some of the effort wasn't there. I don't think it was that. I think it really was that he just expected the ball to be out already. And he just needs to get... I mean, he definitely was better this week, so hopefully that continues. But I don't think it's X. I think it's just the people around him are just so bad. This next question comes from SM. SM asks, Skaggs, you are the GM. It's April 2020. We have 3 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks. If you could give me the draft scenario One where we draft Tua, one without. Don't worry about names, just give positions like mine. Would be a quarterback, offensive tackle. Trade down in first, cornerback, pick up another. Second, then with 3 offensive tackle, defensive end, guard. What would I do in the first round? Okay, so I need to continue. When the draft starts to come around, I'm gonna give you guys the sickest mock draft you've ever seen. But as of right now, I still need to watch a little bit more college football. If I had to target 3 things in the first round, and I would take care of the line of scrimmage on the offensive side of the football in free agency, I would target secondary, defensive line. Those would be the 2 priorities if I don't take a quarterback. Secondary, defensive line, because this team desperately needs some sort of pass rush. So they need to take a high-end pass rusher, whether that be Chase Young or someone else, I don't know. And if they can grab a high-end secondary player, that would be, obviously that would be much, much, much needed. It sucks that Minka's gone, but that's a huge hole in this team. Receiver is a big need. Any position really is a huge need in that first round. Playmaking on offense is desperately needed, so maybe a Jerry Jeudy gets thrown in there. Really, I don't know. But it's a hard thing. You would have to really sit down and look at the board and say, okay, this is the player, this is the player, this is the player. I don't think it's position. I think it's player, really, because of how the Dolphins roster is right now. I feel like I said position really aggressively right there for some reason. I don't know why. Yeah, I think that's it, guys. We pretty much covered it all. This team sucks. It's sorry as all heck. Like I said, they got cement in their shoes and bricks for hands. It's can't run, can't catch, can't cover, can't communicate, can't, apparently Philip Rivers is, Vic. Yeah, a lot of just mental mistakes, a lot of stupid mistakes, just a lot of gross football being played in Miami right now, and hopefully things get better, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Hopefully we get a little bit more aggressive. Hopefully the offense is a little bit more consistent. Hopefully Josh continues to grow, and these are the things that we have to look forward to, because winning at this point is stepping stones, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully we can take down the Redskins. I know a lot of people might be rooting for us not to secure that number 1 overall pick, but we don't know how things are going to shake out in the long run. The Redskins can pick up a couple wins. We don't know. So I'm rooting for a dub on Sunday. It'll be, 2 weeks, really, because of the bye. So hopefully when the Dolphins return, they're better. That is going to be it, guys, for this week's episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I appreciate everybody who answered or asked questions. It means a lot to me. It's pretty cool. And again, stick in there. Strap up your boots, pull up those jeans, and hopefully things get better. But anyway, that's going to be it, guys. I am Skaggs83, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next one.